Okay, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Council Vice President DiGirolamo, could you please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of May 9, 2018 was included in a list of meeting notices sent to newspapers of record and posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and has remained continuously posted as the required notices under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk.
Excellent. Okay, we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we got a roll call vote, Vicki?
Mr. Pulper?
Here.
Mrs. DiGirolamo?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Look?
Here.
Mr. McFadden?
Here. Okay, first order of business is to designate a committee chair. I would like to nominate Frank McVeigh, Councilman McVeigh.
I'll second.
Could we get a roll call vote, Vicki? If Councilman, would you accept? Yes. Roll call vote.
Mr. Pulper?
Yes.
Mrs. DiGirolamo?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Look?
Yes.
Mr. McFadden?
Yes. Okay. This is yours, bud. You're over here.
Chair.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch my chair.
You need a break.
Josh wants to sit next to me. Your show. I need my glass.
Thank you.
Nah, it's all right. They'll think I'm Frank. Just short.
Okay, first order of business is hiring a special counsel. We will have to do this to move forward.
A motion?
Motion.
Do we have somebody to propose, or?
I'd like to go with the same. Gloria Peruggi, Steinhardt, Capelli.
Is that the motion?
I'd motion.
Motion to hire?
Sure.
I'll second.
Yeah, I'd like to debate that.
I suggest that we bring a motion to hire, and then that we can have a discussion, and then we can name it from that point.
Well, I think it's appropriate for us to, as a point of order, to have the motions combined to hire and name the firm at the same time. So I don't think that's an out of order motion.
Just discussion.
Yeah. So yeah, I object to the appointment of this law firm to represent us on the special counsel. This is the second time in as many weeks that we've heard this firm's name. From a standpoint of transparency, as we all know, Doug Steinhardt, as the chairman of the Warren County Republican Party, put quite a lot of money into the campaign of some of my fellow councilmen. I think in the effort to distance ourselves from the appearance of offering political payback, it would behoove us to find a firm that does not have a principal who is active so politically in the area, and also to make sure that we have truly unbiased counsel. So to that end, I would advise and advocate for council to select a different counselor for this special counsel.
Thank you. Mr. Lutz? Do you have any comments?
No comment.
Mrs. DiGirolamo?
No.
Mr. Fulton?
Just one. Councilman Davis, do you have the monetary value that Mr. Steinhardt had given our campaign?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, just as a point of order, I don't think it's appropriate for us to engage directly one-on-one in terms of debate. But I would be glad to present those values, and based on my research from the state election board, I don't believe that Mr. Steinhardt has provided any in-kind documentation to the state or to your campaign. So it's impossible for me to say the exact dollar amount that the chairman has contributed to the Warren County Republican Committee.
So then the statement that he had provided us with money would also be an unfair statement to make.
Oh, listen, again, to say that he provided money directly may be inaccurate, but he did spend, through the committee, a significant amount of funds on your election campaign. So to that end, like I said, I think that it has the appearance of political payback, and I don't advocate for this firm.
Well, I respect your opinion. I disagree, but I respect it. My motion stands.
Okay, I listened intently to Mr. Davis, what you had said, and to your point that there's no way you can prove or actually direct on what this has had, that firm or that gentleman has had on us. And I'm honestly don't understand how that's even going to reflect on the representation here, if it even was the case, which obviously is not proven. So I'm okay with that firm, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Any other motions? Okay. Vicky, roll call.
Mr. Fulper?
Yes.
Mrs. DiGiovanna?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
No.
Mr. Lutz?
Yes.
Mr. McVeigh?
Yes. Hiring a special counsel has been approved. Florio, Perucci, Steinhardt, Capelli?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, absolutely.
Do we have a maximum, minimum estimated amount so we know where this will fit into the budget allowance?
As of right now, Chairman, if I may, as of right now, I don't believe that we would have one until we get
I know.
To be quite honest with you, I don't know how long this can go. This can go 8 weeks, this can go 12 weeks.
Okay. I just know previous appointments we've done to hire outside counsel, we usually put an amount on it and then take it from there as a starting point.
I think
So,
with this being...
I didn't know if it was proper or not. It's all just a question.
Oh, no, that's okay.
With that being said, Mrs. DiGiovanna, we had at that time everything kind of in front of us at that point, and that's why we can kind of maybe test out the waters on how far you can even place a monetary or how far it would go. And then to Mr. Fulper's point, this could go 1 week, it can go 12 weeks. It's really unknown until we actually get a little bit involved in this, so at this point I would prefer to leave it open-ended, not to paint ourselves in a corner.
Okay.
And we'll take it from there. Being the totality of all 5 of us, a very, I believe, a conservative council to this point, the 4.5 months in, I'm confident that the 5 of us will make the proper decisions and not go above our means or outside of what we can measure as we go into legality of what we have going on here. Okay. All right. I'm going to jump over to the opening remarks. I want to thank everyone for coming. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending and your interest in this matter. Before continuing, I must caution the members in attendance that the matters before us are not of public participation or involvement, nor comment without subpoena. Those who are found to be out of order or construed unruly by the chairperson shall be requested to leave, subsequently preventing from attendance from future durations of these proceedings. The town of Phillipsburg and its residents deserve and depend upon governmental transparency. The people of Phillipsburg merit fair process and the expectations that their elected officials will adhere to the laws they enact and enforce, just as they are expected their constituents to do the same. But what happens when the trust in the systematic process is broken? What happens when the very system your elected officials implemented to ensure a fair process is followed has been abandoned, mishandled, and overtly circumvented without regard for rules, procedures, statutes, or ordinances? What happens when an elected official misuses their power to provide their friends while leaving everyone else behind? That's exactly the allegation brought before this committee, and the one we will investigate thoroughly to either prove or disprove the allegations before us. It's been alleged, upon being elected as Mayor of Phillipsburg on November 3rd, 2015, Mayor Stephen R. Ellis immediately formed a transition team consisting of Police Officer Mike Swick, Thomas Kent Corcoran, Sherry Corcoran, Chris Troxel, T. Scott Ferguson, Campaign Treasurer Jennifer McBride, Councilman-elect Joshua Davis, and Councilman-elect Mark Lutz. Began planning the removal of certain town officials and employees, the hiring of friends within that team, and rewarding a majority of those who supported his campaign with jobs and positions within the town's infrastructure. All of this being performed prior to taking office. It should be noted, as has been documented during the council public meeting on February 6, 2018 of this year by Council President Fulker, that Councilman Mark Lutz only attended 2 of those meetings before removing himself from these meetings because of his personal outlooks that something felt wrong about the content and discussions. Still, it didn't stop there. After taking the oath of office, it had been alleged that Mayor Ellis had illicitly and knowingly circumvented the process set in place to level the playing field for all involved and showed complete disregard for written statutes and/or procedures to hire, promote, and reward all of those who donated to, associated with, participated in his campaign. It should be noted that Mayor Ellis and his members of his transition team have consistently denied these allegations both publicly and privately. However, the evidence presented thus far to the council and to this committee was enough to set forth the proverbial wheels in motion leading to this investigation. Now, we are hopeful, with the assistance of all subpoenaed parties, the public will have a clearer picture of what exactly occurred in real life outside of social media, most importantly behind closed doors. In December of 2017, 3 newly elected council members, after hearing countless rumors surrounding the hiring processes of Steve Ellis by members of the public, sought the personal records for all of those employed under the Ellis administration. We were met with reluctance in the beginning, but after approximately 2.5 weeks and several emails, we were finally provided the information for every municipal employee. Inclusive of this information was some very vague employment practices that revealed further lack of consistency from the hiring process. After reviewing a majority of the documentation prior to and taking the oath of office, we began to see a trend. However, the trend was circumstantial in nature, and the continued reluctance in providing information to the newly elected members of council from the mayor's office, the ordering of municipal employees by Mayor Ellis not to speak to newly elected council, and an attempt at the exclusion of certain council members from the municipal building brought a heightened suspicion that there was truth to the allegations brought before us. Now, most recently, the pattern of suspicion has increased, and after more requests from the council to Mayor Ellis for employee records were again met with hesitance. The foundation for this investigation was solidified on January 8, 2018 of this year, when former Ellis transition team member Jennifer McBride provided council with approximately 59 electronic communications and several other documents that would appear to substantiate the public's claims and unfortunately confirm the concerns of council regarding the hiring and promoting practices of Mayor Ellis. Most recently, the pattern of deflection and avoidance pertaining to the council's legal request of employee records continued over the past few weeks. We were promised documents by Mayor Ellis and then received an email a few weeks later on May 2nd, 2018, requesting reasoning and justification for the request. Now, it should be noted that upon the original request, although not required, reasoning and justification was provided. The mayor also questioned whether or not subpoena would be required for council to obtain the information from his office, Mayor Ellis deferring to the town attorney, who weeks earlier, when met with another similar scenario, the denial of the superintendent of recreation's information, was informed that council had the legal right to request and be provided with such documentation. Still to this date, the information has not been provided. This type of behavior and avoidance of providing open information to the publicly elected officials is concerning and allows for an atmosphere of heightened suspicion. It is the opinion of this majority that there is nothing to hide and it's legal. We are a council and the community can move forward if provided the requested documentation. Such was the case February 6, 2018 of this year regarding the request of documents that could have prevented the result of counsel's decision that evening. It will be the responsibility and the expectation of this ad hoc committee to complete this process and shine the light of true transparency on our government for the benefit of all involved, but none more so than our constituents. If these allegations are in fact verified, we need to ensure that no matter what elected official, no matter what office held, no matter what political affiliation, this never happens again. Thank you. Comments from the panel committee? Discussion.
Mr. McVeigh, I have one regarding the May 2nd comments with regard to the mayor not providing the forms. Last evening, May 8th, 2018, the mayor did provide myself with 3 separate personal action forms. I'm sure after moving forward with the subpoena that we will see those forms. I just wanted to notate that with your opening remarks.
Did that satisfy the original and current request?
No, but it was a start.
Do you know approximately how many we're looking for? Or the request, off your request?
Oh, do you mean the original request in
Yes.
December? No, I don't, but I think that'll be encompassed in the subpoena.
Okay. Mr. Davis?
Sure, I do have some opening remarks as well. Generally, I would like to ask this body what the legacy of our term together will be. These first 4.5 months have not been marked by progress. They've not been marked by coordination. They've been marked by conflict, divisiveness, and strife. To my recollection, some members of the body before you campaigned on one member of this administration receiving a raise of $8,000. To date, in legal fees alone for the lawsuits that have been brought and for the potential lawsuits that will be settled, we've spent far more than $8,000 because we have been fighting and disagreeing. The responsibility lies on both sides, from the mayor's office to myself to my colleagues across the aisle. We need to work together. I take exception to the criticisms that have been levied on the mayor's office regarding the following of rules and law, because I have laid criticism at the feet of this body without any response or rebuttal. After the actions that I disagreed with that were taken against certain personnel in the administration, I laid out statute by statute state laws which prohibited this council from taking those actions. And again, with the exception of one comment, I received no reply about the justification of those actions from this council. Sometimes mistakes are made, but it does not justify us going on a witch hunt to exorciate whatever number of people we're going to subpoena and bring before this body. So my question is, what is the legacy of this body going to be? Is it going to be further legal fees? Is it going to be YouTube highlights and Facebook comments about how silly these meetings look? Or are we going to take this time, instead of meeting here, to grill witnesses about actions that have taken place? Or we're going to work on the things that really matter to the citizens of Phillipsburg? Are we going to meet together to talk about encouraging home ownership and reversing the trend of landlord creep? Are we talking about ways to find outside sources of revenue to combat ever skyrocketing property taxes to fund the programs that we need for this town? I would ask this council to end this madness, start working together on the issues that matter, as opposed to trying to single out and divide these people in our body even further. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. And may I, Mr. Davis, and just may I say that if you are trying to justify in monetary value $8,000 versus legal fees, and we should just do it because you are invited to my house to sit down with me because you don't know the core fiber Excuse me, I'm talking.
No, excuse me, I rise to a point of order. You have no right to address my comments directly.
I'm inviting you to my house to sit down and get to know me a little bit better. I'm saying to you, I cannot sit here. I will resign tomorrow if I have to do $8,000 versus this just because. I ran. I put my petition in because I was sick and tired of seeing and hearing. And now that I'm here, and now that I'm on receipt of these emails, is why I proudly brought it up, and I proudly asked to be chairperson.
As a matter of decorum, another rule in law, which is of the town of Phillipsburg and is codified, I ask you to respect the rules of decorum, not address me by my name, and to keep your comments general as is requested. Thank you, Chairman.
That's fine. It's an ad hoc committee. You can call me Frank.
Yes,
This is a committee within council.
However, to the best of my knowledge, any meeting of council, which this is governed by Robert's Rules of Order, which require us to act with decorum and follow the rules of decorum.
Well, Robert would be very proud that I invited you to my house any time in the week to sit down and talk to me, get to know me a little bit better if this is what you have to figure out, because you use the word witch hunt. This is not a witch hunt. You just insulted my 27 years of investigatory powers in addition to what I've been doing the last 5 years. This is not a witch hunt. This is a concern. And we will find either for or against these concerns. It's that simple. But I do appreciate your comments. Mr. Fulmer, comment.
I do. To point out that Robert's Rules of Order in our state, in our statute in Phillipsburg, is really not a guideline. If you take, we have our own guidelines with regard to the meetings, and I can bring that statute with me. I certainly thought that Councilman Davis's comments were heartfelt, and in some way, Councilman, I share those, but being provided with the information that we were given, and well, you definitely have the information. You're on those lists. There's a roadmap there. Now, so far, with nothing but denial, this panel has nothing to do but to investigate them, to reveal them to the public, because everything has been denial. If we were able to come to an agreement, or if we heard yes, this happened, then maybe we'd be able to settle it and move forward. But I do believe that we'll still be able to move forward while investigating this matter. I personally don't take anything to heart. Quite frankly, I don't believe that you do either. When we leave this room, it stays here. I think we have an obligation to our constituents on both sides of the aisle to make sure that we are as transparent as possible. That was our promise, and I believe that we are carrying out that promise, and that's all I have.
Mr. Giralamo.
Are we going to be provided with all these emails that were sent on January 8th?
Yes.
Okay. Will we get them in our council emails to review? I haven't seen them all, so I want to see what we're looking at in advance, because that's really all I have. I've always taken the stance of if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about. So it is what it is. I'm here to listen, and I stick to the facts. So if there's nothing wrong, you have nothing to worry about.
Very good. Mr. Lutz?
That's all I got.
I kind of feel embarrassed. I didn't really know what the first meeting was going to be like, or what. I didn't even get an agenda, and I really didn't know that we had to have some type of a speech, and I apologize. I wish I would have known what was coming up, because I would have had something, but
You don't have to.
I'm sorry.
I only did the opening remarks. That's why everyone could have remained silent, and that'd be fine. Good, sir?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, very good. That being said, I'm going to have a motion to subpoena parties.
Parties, you're going to subpoena, Councilman.
A motion to subpoena Jennifer McBride to appear before this committee on Wednesday, May 16th, 2018 at 7 p.m. with any and all files or electronic communications that were relevant to the complaint made to this committee. And I probably will, Ms. DiGirolamo will answer your question because she could provide more in addition to what she already has. So that's what we're in receipt of. So
What was that?
That was the next Wednesday.
I'm requesting next Wednesday. Right?
I'll second the motion.
If I could just have a discussion on that.
Mhm.
I will be out of town. Are these meeting minutes being recorded
They are.
that I'll be able to be up to speed? Thank you. So Geraldine and I will be here. I could be virtual, Danielle, again.
That's right. Vicki, would you roll call, please?
Mr. Fulper?
Yes.
Mrs. DeGirolamo?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
No.
Mr. Lutz?
Yes.
Mr. McVeigh?
Yes. I make a second motion to subpoena Mayor Stephen R. Ellis to appear before this committee on Wednesday, May 16th, 2018 at 7 p.m. with any and all files, resumes, applications, job postings, personnel action forms, personal files for every new hire from January 1st, 2016 to present day. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, that is a pretty absurd trove of documents you're asking the mayor to produce in person at this table.
Did you hire a lot of people?
I don't know. But to ask him to bring every documentation of every personnel file, you're asking him to bring an entire filing cabinet.
May I rebut?
Go ahead.
Is it okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
I think in order for us to gain a clearer picture, that's what is required. This council currently was accused of, well, actually we're under litigation, and we've argued that litigation because I don't believe that a hiring trail truly exists. I think that if we have those, we can question them, and I did speak with the mayor, and he said he was opening to answer any questions that this panel would have.
Yeah, I don't object to the presentation, but I think we could probably be more specific with the documents because any and all is overly broad, and so. But I'm not sure specifically what council is seeking. So,
Mr. Davis, this is for new hires. I believe you mentioned in your comment all, which are filing cabinet. These are just new hires, the hires from January 1st, 2016, which was originally stated in my first motion. I don't think that's quite absorbent at all.
That was too present.
Yes? And I will ask at this time, I know the answer. Vicki, are you holding those personnel files? I don't know. I know we had a resolution to immediately transfer those files within 24 hours back to your office. So we can't ask you to provide those, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, whatever those files are, and maybe the hardest thing to find them, when we get them, or at least when the mayor gets them, they can be brought forth. On a new hire process, I'll answer. I personally have a staff, Mr. Davis, larger than Town Hall. I oversee their files. I put some stuff in some files today. I keep a nice file. It would take me about 15 minutes. Further discussion?
I just want to reiterate my point. I'd appreciate it if you would not refer comments directly to me, Chairman.
All right. How do you want me to refer to you as?
Yeah. Well, you can accept the Chairman. The appropriate. It's not appropriate to name fellow members of the body. You can say the gentleman who just spoke, or as some infamously said, the gentleman from Grand Street when I was referring to the former council president. But the appropriate way under the rules of order is to refer to people indirectly. I would ask you to honor that rule.
May I?
You better.
I don't have a problem abiding. Again, we aren't truly governed by Robert's Rules of Order, and I don't the argument. I do believe that you are the expert when it comes to Robert's Rules of Order, certainly more than I am. But are you familiar with the way ad hoc committees normally take place on a government level, on a federal level?
My understanding, and if my understanding of the statutes of Phillipsburg is incorrect, is that with the exception of the specific rules that we've placed into our ordinance, we are governed by Robert's Rules. I think paraphrasing says
guideline.
It says meetings will follow the policy, will follow Robert's Rules of Orders, except for otherwise outlined here. I believe it says in our ordinance. Second to that, in order for us to subpoena bodies according to the Faulkner Act, it has to come for an appearance of counsel. So while we have the ad hoc committee has the authority to investigate certain matters, the ability to subpoena explicitly belongs to counsel. So as a matter of procedure, my argument would be that while this is a meeting of the committee, it is more importantly a meeting of the committee of the whole of the council, as in addition to being the ad hoc committee. Therefore, the rules of decorum and our Robert's Rules still apply.
So do you mind if I ask, last night we just had a meeting and I called you Josh and Councilman Davis. Is it because of the atmosphere that we're currently in right now that you don't want to be spoken to as such?
I don't disagree, particularly in work sessions, which are generally
I've done
more
more
relaxed.
council meetings too.
And I would appreciate in this setting where sometimes it seems that comments may be barbed, we would take the road where we're being more general as not to be offensive to anyone. I would ask everyone to follow those rules.
Can I call you Mr. Davis?
Councilman will suffice. I appreciate that.
Okay, Councilman.
Okay, so your end point is what? Blank.
My end point is, Chairman, that as a function of order, comments are not supposed to be directed to any individual member. They're supposed to be directed to the body, and any reference to another member is supposed to be made indirectly, not by name.
So be it.
Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. You call me chairman.
Yes.
You spoke to me directly. You're supposed to address the body.
It's appropriate to address you as an honorific as you are the chairman, and this is a question of order.
It's all good.
Thanks, Chairman.
Very good. Can you have a vote, please, on the second motion?
Mr. Phillipsburg?
Yes.
Ms. DeGirolamo?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
No.
Mr. Lutz?
Yes.
Mr. McFadden?
Yes. At this time, I'd like to have rice notice discussions, and my opinion is due to the nature of this investigation, depending upon the series of questions asked, it would be prudent to rice notice all and current former employees. This is going to be an extensive questioning regarding job duties, and it could have legs. I'm confident it's going to have legs, and in order to conduct a proper investigation without stoppages in that investigation, stop line of questioning and moving forward and getting this done in the most expeditious, clean, and continual path and file manner of an investigatory process, I would recommend that. Discussion.
Does that have to go through the attorney? Is the attorney the one that would issue that?
They do that. The counsel.
So you're
that's why
I'm
not motioning because we don't have legal counsel in front of us now. So this is only
Right.
Okay, so this is just discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
I would agree that I think that every municipal employee at this point in time would have to be rice noticed, because there could be times where we would prefer, maybe I may say, describe the hiring process of our town clerk, and I may refer to her by name, either accidentally, because it is as formal as we're trying to make it be. It is a little non-formal. The last thing I would want to do is violate. That would be, and I mean, I'm not sure how rice notices work. Can we rice notice for every meeting, or do we have to do it singly for every meeting?
I'm not aware of the requirements for rice noticing.
Like if there's a time frame, if there's a time period, Chairman, I would ask our legal representation, whomever we are assigned, if the rice notice could accompany a certain time period. So let's say if it's like the next 4 Wednesdays, 5 Wednesdays, something similar to that, as opposed to having them generate 35, 40 rice notices.
And then, yeah, that's why we're discussing, and I know we have an establishment of the meeting schedule, which off the top of my head, for sake of moving this along, I would just recommend the blocking out the next 3 to 4, that'd be discussion amongst ourselves, 3 to 4 Wednesdays. And that would be that, whatever we establish on the meeting schedule would be the recommendation from council to go ahead and put that series of dates and that block of dates down the range. So it gives, in all fairness, to those employees, current and former, the opportunity to decide for themselves and what they got to do, or as we get into the vacation times, and it's a very busy time of the season, so hopefully it doesn't last that long, but we do have to do our diligence in our job and have respect for all current and former employees.
Chairman, may I inquire as to a point of information?
Yes.
Were rice notices provided to the individuals named in your opening remarks this evening?
We weren't talking about job duties. We just mentioned the names. I didn't speak of their job duties or their jobs.
If I may, there's similar to what I, on the February 6th remarks, that when I did not rice notice certain employees, I made similar remarks, and the attorney, our counsel, had said that as long as I didn't speak of their job duties, we were okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
Is it possible we could do these every other week rather than every Wednesday?
That's why we're here to discuss.
I know my schedule's pretty booked already.
Discussion?
You have a problem doing it every other Wednesday?
No, I don't have a problem with that. I know, just looking at our calendar, we have May 15th, 16th, and 17th of next week.
And I've got a 30th already booked, which I've canceled 3 times, but I can do it again. It was for Not in Our Town program meeting, but
I don't have a problem either way. Doing it every other Wednesday will give us more time to investigate the testimony from each party. I'm certainly not opposed to it either way, but remember, if we do it every other Wednesday, we could be here all summer.
It's a delicate balance, and I will wait. Everyone has weighed in, I believe. If we go ahead and do every other, which would be if we would be absent of the 16th, that would have, one member of the panel has suggested, given the mayor and the other parties to subpoena to produce records, we give them ample time. In addition to that, we free up Mrs. DiGirolamo and her commitment, which means the motion to subpoena for the 16th would be amended to the 23rd. And that gives the whole panel, in addition to the subpoenaed folks, and that would have to run through our legal counsel as well. The next one would be the 23rd. How does that sound to the panel? Followed by 2 weekends after that, which pushes us off into June. And do we have that Wednesday in June? Would that be the 6th?
Yeah.
June 6th. I think there's...
Is that Wednesday the 6th?
Actually, I believe Wednesdays the Housing Authority has their meetings.
No, we have we spoke with the Housing Authority when we first decided to do this, and they had given us the room.
Okay.
Okay, I'm recommending May 23rd, June 6th, June 20th. It's a block of 3 dates, encompassing close to 6 weeks.
Will we be, I mean, obviously, I believe that we will be subpoenaing other parties in the future, correct?
I'm confident of that.
Okay. Okay.
That was the 23rd, the 6th, and...
20th. Mr. Lutz, you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
23rd, I will not be here. gotta go to Texas a lot, so. But it's fine.
Mr. Davis, you're right.
Yes, Chairman.
Okay, with that being said, we're going to stay with those 3 dates. I would like 4, but because of the time in between, it will actually allow us, I would recommend having a little longer meetings than normal to cover the gap. So I always said, I love hour meetings. There's nothing really after an hour. People start to lose their attention. So maybe we, as we move forward, how it goes. Once I have the agenda and we go forward, it would be, the meetings will move along, and maybe approximately 90 minutes, 90 to 100 minutes. We should copy that, and that will help cover the gap of every other week, making that up and then freeing everybody up on their schedule and stuff. That's agreeable. Very good. Does anybody in the panel have any other discussion before I motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you all for coming.